Welcome students to lesson 34 of the Changing Economic World topic. In this lesson I will be explaining to you the two final types of infrastructure, airports and ports. I will show you why they are important for the UK's economy, why they increase international trade, and what problems can be caused if we do not invest correctly in them. So, let's learn. Please write the date, title and learning objective and have a pen and paper ready to learn. Time to review prior learning. Write 1 to 10 in your books, answer the questions from memory, and then mark your answers. Game time. 1. What percent of the Jaguar factory in the UK's energy comes from solar power? About 30%. 2. What is the main religion in the north of Nigeria? Islam. 3. What type of country is in stage 3 of the DTM, Demographic Transition Model? An NEE, Newly Emerging Economy. 4. What is it called when the birth rate is higher than death rate in a country and so the population grows? Natural increase. 5. What underground train line will go through London and increase access to high-paid jobs? Crossrail. 6. About how much is HS2 expected to cost? Between 80 to 100 billion pounds. 7. How much does Shell pay in taxes to the government of Nigeria every year? About $1 billion. 8. In what continent is Chile? South America. 9. What drought-resistant crop is being planted in India and other countries to adapt to climate change? Millet. 10. After the Somerset Levels floods in 2014, the River Parrett was dug up so that it was deeper. What is this called? Dredging. Please give yourselves a mark out of 10. If you got 8 or more, you're awesome. If not, write the questions you got wrong, test yourselves on it until you become awesome at this. To introduce this final lesson on the UK's transport infrastructure, I'm going to show you a photo and I'm going to show you some questions around it. Look at the photo and use the knowledge that you have to try and answer the questions. Go for it. Okay, let's discuss. Number 1, what issues would this create for the local people? If you've ever stood underneath an aeroplane when it comes into land, or been outside when one was flying low, you'll know that they are very loud. So loud, in fact, that it's bad for your health to hear them too often from short distances. Therefore, having aeroplanes fly over your house very often would probably cause stress and a lack of sleep and other problems. 2. How would this issue affect local house prices? Well, it would decrease house prices. This place is called Hounslow. It is a borough of West London. And house prices in Hounslow are slightly lower than the surrounding boroughs because people don't want to live there under the flight paths of the aeroplanes. 3. What are the economic benefits of this form of transport? Air travel is an extraordinary success in technological innovation. It has led to faster transport of goods, therefore international trade, but also of people, therefore migration and tourism. This has significant economic benefits. In this lesson, I'm going to explore with you the importance of air travel and ports, so shipping, for the UK's economy. I will show you 2 projects that are being planned for the UK, and I will help you to understand the positives and negatives of these projects. Time to learn. So the big question. Let's start with airports. The most famous airport in the UK and the largest is Heathrow Airport. What's the plan here? Well, Heathrow Airport currently has 2 runways, and every year about 80 million people pass through it. The plan is to add a 3rd runway to Heathrow Airport. This would increase capacity by another 50%, thereby allowing 120 million people to pass through it every year. It would also increase the capacity of air freight, so trade, that can pass through the airport every year. The expectation is this will lead to significant economic benefits. Let me show you how. The first is the movement of people. The UK needs migration because they provide high-skilled employment. Migrants also invest in the UK's economy. Not only that, they innovate, they come up with new ideas and they start their own businesses, which leads to economic growth. Tourism is an important economic sector in the UK. It provides almost £100 billion worth of income every year because tourists spend money visiting famous places like Stonehenge and Edinburgh and Bristol and London. Increasing Heathrow's capacity would make air travel cheaper, which would increase the demand for tourists and migrants to come to the UK and would lead to economic growth. Second possible benefit of an increased capacity of Heathrow Airport: international trade. Although more than 90% of trade goes through ports and not airports, some types of trade are very important, and it is very important that they go through airports. Here's why. The first type is high-tech products and expensive products. For example, iPhones and computers that come from Apple. This is for a few reasons. The first is security. Air travel is safer and there's less chance products will be broken or stolen or lost flying by plane than by ship. Not only that, the products reach people faster. Second, perishable goods, which means goods that go rotten, food, need to be transported by plane. The UK imports more than 40% of its food because of this reason. If you increase the capacity of the main airport that this food travels through, you reduce its cost and you increase the amount of it that can pass into the UK every year. This would increase the demand for food and therefore lead to more choice for customers in supermarkets and more international trade. So for these two reasons, the third runway at Heathrow is being planned and many people are very excited about it. However, probably an equal number of people are not happy about the idea of a third runway at Heathrow Airport. Here's why. There's a local scale problem, and it's noise pollution. Currently, the area underneath the flight path into Heathrow Airport is called Hounslow, and that is the area that's mostly affected by noise pollution, which is noise that is above 70 decibels. That's how sound is measured. That's unhealthy amounts of sound, causes mental illness, stress, lack of sleep. A third runway at Heathrow will increase the area of land in the UK that is affected by noise pollution from Heathrow Airport, and that area will stretch all the way across central London, the biggest UK city and the most important city. This could lead to fewer people migrating to the city, fewer businesses setting up, and lower quality of life because of the stress of having more noise pollution. That's not the only problem, however. There's a global scale problem: air pollution. Increasingly, people in the UK and HICs around the world are opposed to air travel because of its impact on global warming. Aeroplanes produce 3.5% of all human greenhouse gas emissions, mainly CO2. If you increase the capacity of Heathrow Airport, you increase the amount of planes that can fly. Therefore, you increase the amount of greenhouse gas emissions and you make climate change worse. We know that climate change is already having significant human and environmental effects. More air travel will only worsen this. So, upgrading air travel and infrastructure related to air travel in the UK is controversial because although it may have economic benefits, it could lead to significant social problems and environmental issues. Please watch this video so that you understand the project better. Second type of infrastructure, the ports. As I mentioned, more than 90% of the UK's trade comes through ports. They are crucial for the UK's international trade. Here is the current situation. Almost all of the UK's biggest ports are in the south and the southeast of England. This means that most of the imports and exports go through these areas. which means as a result most of the jobs are in the south of England, and most of the investment is in the south of England. It also means that most of the businesses set up there because the infrastructure is best there. This leaves the north of the UK with inadequate infrastructure and reduced incomes, jobs and investment. The overall effect of this is to create inequality in the UK between the north and the south. So, investing in ports in the north of the UK is one proposal for reducing inequality as well as increasing economic growth. Here is a very well-known and important project, and it focuses on a city called Liverpool, which is located on the northwest coast of England. Liverpool sits at the heart of the UK's manufacturing industry. Although manufacturing in the UK has declined, as you know, those companies that remain are mostly in the north. Therefore, having access to a port with high capacity nearby would be very helpful because it would reduce the costs and time of transport for the products to the port and to be exported around the world. So here's the project. It's called Liverpool 2. It will cost £400 million and it will double the capacity of containers that can be loaded and unloaded every year at Liverpool Port. This is good for two reasons. Number one, it creates a multiplier effect. Construction of the port will create more than 5,000 jobs directly, through forklift truck drivers to suppliers of materials to builders and welders and engineers, all based in Liverpool. These jobs will lead to a multiplier effect because other kinds of businesses will grow as a result. Businesses that are involved in, for example, plumbing or in engineering or in supplying parts like cables and tyres and steel. All of these businesses in the UK will benefit from the investment in the Liverpool 2 port, the multiplier effect. Secondly, it will boost international trade to and from the UK. The UK exports billions of pounds worth of goods around the world and to the European Union every year, as you will find out in a future lesson. If we can increase the capacity of our ports, we can increase the speed and the volume of international trade. This will only lead to greater profits for British companies, which means higher incomes for the workers, more taxes for the government, and greater investment in development projects. Ports are very important for the UK's economy. Currently, they are mostly in the south, leading to inequality. The Liverpool 2 port will address this issue and will lead to economic growth in the north of the UK. Time to assess your learning. Please write 1 to 10. Answer the questions using what you've learned, but from memory, and then mark your answers. Go for it. 1. What upgrade is being planned for Heathrow Airport? A third runway. 2. About how many people pass through Heathrow every year? About 80 million people. 3. What region of the UK are most of the main shipping ports in? The south or the southeast? 4. What percent of UK trade goes through ports every year? 90% or more. 5. In what UK city has port capacity recently doubled? Liverpool. 6. How many jobs are estimated will be created by the investment in that port? It's not known exactly, but more than 5,000, between 5 and 10,000. 7. London's economy is based on jobs in many different sectors and activities. So London has a diverse economy. 8. What percent of global CO2 emissions come from air travel? About 3.5%. 9. There is inequality between the north and south of the UK. The south is, on average, richer than the north. 10. Death rates increase slightly in stage 5 of the DTM due to the ageing population. If you've got most of these right and you've really understood it, I'm very happy. Well done. If not, go back, watch the explanations again. Time to embed your learning. This is the vital part of every lesson. Answer the questions using your understanding and explain in full sentences using the keywords. For example, the words that I have used this lesson, such as inequality and investment. Go for it. Number 1. Explain why Heathrow Airport is considered important to the UK's economy. Important trading hub. Transport hub. Jobs. 2. Explain using examples why plans to increase airport capacity are controversial. So 2 fully explained points. You need the positive and the negative. So first 2 points. Economic benefits, trade capacity, tourism. However, the problems: noise pollution and air pollution. 3. Describe the distribution of the UK's largest ports. Whenever a question says describe the distribution, you need to say the overall pattern, for example, north, south, east, west, and you need to give examples. So, first mark, south, southeast. Second mark, name one of them and where it is. 4. Explain how upgrading the UK's ports may help to reduce economic inequality. Investing in ports increase investment in the north. For example, Liverpool 2 doubles capacity, so you get the multiplier effect. Give yourselves a mark out of 10. Make sure, and this is really important, that you add in green pen any corrections or any parts that you missed. From the previous 5 lessons, collect up your questions that you wrote at the end of each lesson and test yourselves on them from memory until you've got them all in your head. This has been our series of lessons on transport infrastructure in the UK and how important it is. In the next 2 lessons, I'm going to tackle one of the most important issues facing the country right now. One that we mentioned this lesson, the fact that the north of the UK is on average poorer than the south. I want you to know how it got to be this way and what we can do about it. Join me then.